Welcome. Thank you very much for coming to the Internet Archive. This is completely fantastic. Okay, first time here? Woohoo! Okay, so this shouldn't be your last time here. But where are you? So you're at the headquarters of the Internet Archive, a nonprofit library, and most people don't really think of websites as having a physical place, but I'd say this is our physical place. If you cran your heads around, and the servers on the back there, it's about 35 petabytes of the 210 petabytes of the Internet Archive's primary copy. And the cool thing I think about these is every time a light blinks is somebody uploading something, downloading something from the Internet Archive. So you can actually see the library being used worldwide, which I think is kind of cool. And you don't only get to see people's servers. But anyway, so that's what that is. And the other sort of question that a lot of people have when they come into this room is, yes, you're in a former church. It was a Christian Science church. That's not Scientology. Christian Science church. And it's been adapting to us, and we've been adapting to it. So you're in pews, and thank you very much for doing that. There are cushions to try to soften the experience. And then there are these little fellows that are around, and those are us at the Internet Archive. If you work for the archive for 3 years, we make a little statue. And so it's kind of a riff on the terracotta soldiers from Xi'an, China. So they're over there and in the back. And anyway, so welcome to here. I'm so glad this is happening. I'm really interested in learning about this program, and I'm so thankful that you're here. One last thing, please come back. And a way to try to experience the Internet Archive is a tour at 1 o'clock on Fridays. 1 o'clock on Fridays. If I'm here, I give the tour, show you around, and we end up with Mitchell's Ice Cream. What's not to love? And so that's a way of getting kind of an idea of what we are, who we are, and you can interact with the Internet Archive. Find how you can use stuff from the archive better, how you can go and upload things to the Internet Archive, or get involved in some interesting way. So please come back Fridays at 1, and now Ash.
Woohoo! Let's give it up for Brewster, the creator of the Internet Archive. All right, everyone, welcome to TIAT. TIAT stands for the intersection of art and technology. I feel like the intersection of art and technology is like a meme. But the crazy thing is we actually got to turn it into an actual place. And for the past 6 months, we've been running a gallery space featuring artworks using technology as a medium. And in this space, we've done group exhibitions every month, hosting a lot of art and technology events. And in just the last 6 months, we've featured more than 128 artists, have had over 200 public events, workshops, performances, lectures, discussions, meetups, all around the intersection of art and technology. But it all started at this exact spot, this exact salon series where you're here right now. And it's really wild how far we've come. And I want to thank you for being here. Thank you, Brewster. Thank you, the Internet Archive. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Evan. And thank you, Internet Archive team. We are so grateful to be here. Basically today, how it goes is we have a beautiful lineup of artists who will be demoing their practice. No one here is talking about a company or a startup, just pure art and personal practice. And so everyone gets 5 minutes, and without further ado, we will kick it off with Herdimas. Everyone give it up for Herdimas.
So hi, I'm Herdimas. Thank you.
My name is Will. I'm going to talk about some Chromebook studies. I'm going to talk about me a little bit first, though. So I'm Will, that's me, over there. I make live electronic music and audiovisual work in Los Angeles. I'm almost done with CalArts. I should have an MFA on Friday if everything goes according to plan. Woo! I have to finish my thesis. It's a whole thing, but I had to come up here first. Prior to that, I was at CMU, and I usually make music with slightly less chairs. Usually make music with title cycles or strudel, which people call live coding, and I performed 5+ years as this name, and I've done, it's like been the bread and butter of my practice and what I've been interested in, and toured and stuff. I played at South by Southwest recently, and I don't care that much about the code part, oddly enough, of live coding. I really just love performing with a laptop. So the laptop right here, it is ubiquitous, it is accessible, it is extremely powerful, and I think of it as kind of like a universal interface for most cognitive work. Like if you have some complex system, either you will be interacting with it or modeling it on the laptop, which is converged on the screen, keyboard, trackpad, microphone, and webcam, mostly. And in my music practice, which I won't be talking about today, I was thinking about how do I perform with just a laptop. So when I got bored of music recently and I wanted to do installation work, I was like, how do I make work for the laptop and not just the screen? Which led me to the Chromebook, of course, because they're very cheap and easy to source. They're typically bought up in bulk by elementary or middle schools, and then they're supported for 7 years, and then after that, Google stops updating them. So a lot of them get resold and wind up on eBay or like GovDeals or something. It's a pretty big canvas. Like I have, or in my setup that I'm about to talk about, I have full remote control over them. I can leverage any feature of the web. I can give each one its own audio stream. I can cue their displays in sequence and in space. Like each one can be interactive. Like I don't have to fiddle with hardware. I can work completely in software while taking up physical space. I can just make some like bespoke web thing, and instead of being locked to a projection or a single screen, I can just throw them around the room, and now it exists in physical space. But I didn't have to like build anything. These are just ready-made objects. So my approach for this, I wanted to make a series of studies on what kind of work you can do with 25 Chromebooks. Like I bought this listing right here. My approach was just to use SSH and Chrome DevTools protocol, CDP, and those two things give me basically full control over it. And then I built out context systems so I could use Claude Code to prompt like basically doing anything on any one of the Chromebooks remotely. And this lets me do small, fast, sketchy projects really fast, like stuff that can be encapsulated in a single prompt, but also craft and debug larger, bespoke, like dedicated applications. Like an example of a larger one is I built a version of Strudel that can push code out to all the Chromebooks, then mask which notes are playing based on the an ID I assigned to each Chromebook. So that's basically a tool set for wireless, like multi-channel composition with Strudel. And I didn't have to build a bunch of speakers or buy a bunch of speakers. I could just buy a bunch of Chromebooks. So a few things I did with that. Here's one that was just a single, small, sketchy prompt. The Star Trek theme slowed 100%, randomly skipping between two intervals, or these two timestamps at 5-second intervals. And that sounds like this. And this was just, I had them installed, and my friend was like, hey, you should like put this video up on all of them. And already it's kind of like, oh, this is a really fun canvas to work with. One I did recently was a performance with 24 Chromebooks arranged in a room, and then a couple XDJs to play to fill out the frequency space, because the Chromebook speakers are fairly limited. But here, oh Christ, I cropped this video weird. That's not good. God, this is such a sick video. Yeah, here all the Chromebooks are arranged and mounted in this big room. I can send out a composition and arpeggiate 24 notes across the entire space. And then that drone in the middle is, I was just also spinning some of my favorite experimental records. And then my most recent one that I installed at Tiat was a piece on LLM psychosis. That was an installation for 8 Chromebooks and 1 Mac Mini and 1 computer at CalArts people didn't know I was hosting a model off of for 3 weeks. That saved my ass. Where they're endlessly talking to each other as if they're kind of like at a dinner party and trying to silently like one-up each other intellectually or creatively. And then you read all the text and it, like a sentence makes sense, or maybe like a paragraph makes sense, but you don't know if the ideas they're talking about actually have any basis in reality. And I was working on this piece, just 2 of them talking, and I felt like I was going insane. And so this is like, you get to walk through that space and you get to see a bunch of computers going insane with each other. But like as a passerby, instead of being one person talking with an LLM and going insane over the course of months by yourself. So anyway, yeah, that's some work with Chromebooks. You can reach me at Instagram here or at this email, or just find me after.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Hayley Mortin. Very excited to be here at the Internet Archive for the very first time. I am a design researcher, fiber artist, and publisher. I'm based out of Montreal, Canada. And my work revolves around typically how to make AI more legible and understandable so people can hopefully make more informed decisions about how to use this technology, even if they're not a data scientist. And I'd say that broadly my work looks at how people either choose to embrace or reject AI as an embedded function in their lives. I extend these questions into my fiber arts practice as well, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. But before I was a researcher, I was a data annotator, which I look back at as the time in my life where I was basically getting paid to do CAPTCHAs for 8 hours a day, full time. And I was putting bounding boxes around images and categorizing them in very arbitrary ways. And this was kind of my gateway into tech and how understanding how like the AI sausage got made. So as part of this, I would interact with hundreds of images very quickly and very bizarrely, and make some sort of judgment about it. So is it an apple? Is it an orange? Whatever. And then I would think to myself that I am probably the only person to see this image and the AI model that I was training. It was just between us. So I thought, you know, sometimes I'd encounter these really strange images or really beautiful images, and I was thinking about how, you know, what if I pulled them out of the context of doing this model training? And in other words, what if I make this fast and invisible process slow and legible? What meaning do these images now hold when you're not forcing somebody to literally assign a label to it and engage with it more slowly? So I use knitting as a way to explore this, which is deliberately slow and tactile by making garments that you can wear and walk around outside, making these images extremely public and visible to the eye. And I found knitting to be an extremely productive way for me to metabolize the speed and invisibility of AI infrastructure. But lately, I am less interested in what we're feeding AI and a little more interested in what it is spitting out, and specifically whether or not I can tell AI content versus human-made content apart. I've actually noticed a structural parallel between consuming images on social media compared to the work that I did as a data annotator. So where the act of scrolling also becomes about assessing images in rapid succession with one another, but the label in question at this point in time is whether what we're looking at is real or fake. So, for example, when the AI-generated video of bunnies jumping on a trampoline was circulating, it really put me on edge because I couldn't trust my senses about what was authentic or not anymore. And I know I was in good company. This was kind of like a cultural moment of us all realizing we're all kind of vulnerable to this and we're not able to clock what is AI as easily anymore. So I wanted to materialize this moment of defeat into a pillowcase. But the proliferation of AI slop is manifesting in very bizarre ways in the knitting community. I found that the AI slopification of fiber arts takes two very specific forms. So the one is these like viral AI knits that are structurally impossible, that are kind of meant to be circulated as a viral image. And then the other one are these AI-generated knitting patterns that make no structural sense if you actually try to make them yourself. So I wanted to run a little experiment, and I wanted to see if there's a measurable difference in how I engage with these two forms of slop. Because right now in the human-computer interaction space, it's a little bit of a alluring, sexy topic to be studying how people are perceiving AI-generated content versus real content. So I wanted to put my own spin on it. So I made a data set of each of these two categories. Unlike a lot of the papers that are out there trying to measure these differences between the two categories, my categories aren't as clean because one data set is completely fabricated AI imagery, but the other is still technically real. It's still made with real yarn, it's still made by real people, it's still made with your hands. So does my visual attention treat these two things differently? Even when the line between AI or between real and AI is blurry. So I built a little web app that I call KnitGazer, which uses webgazer.js to turn your laptop webcam into an eye tracking device. And I uploaded each of my data sets into the tool, and I looked at all of the slop one by one, very much like a data annotator. And after reviewing all of these images and being like slightly horrified at some of these AI creations, I aggregated them into two heat maps. And one of them, interpret it as you wish, but I didn't want to end it here, so I converted these into knitting charts, and I used this with a program called Image to Track, which is an open source piece of software that essentially turns my laptop into a graphical user interface that I can use with a knitting machine that I've hacked to be able to, essentially, I'm gaslighting it into thinking it's reading a floppy disk, when really it's consuming this information from my laptop. And this means that when I slide my carriage across the knitting machine, it moves the needles based on whether it is in position or not in position, and that is basically just binary code. So this is the final product. I actually brought it with me. I guess this is about to be my live demo. This is the new Arc'teryx beanie. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey everyone, I'm Christina. So the Whole Earth Codec is an ongoing speculative research project about a multimodal ecological foundation model that integrates the totality of the planet's information. It is developed in collaboration with Connor Cook and Delina Tran, initially at Antikythera and supported by the Burgoon Institute, Serpentine Arts Technologies, and Radical Exchange. On April 10th, 2019, the Event Horizon Telescope produced the first ever image of a black hole. To do so, a global network of telescopes together formed a camera whose aperture spanned the width of the planet. In contrast to earlier observatories, this planetary scale observatory enables a form of sight that transcends the bounded locality of the site, a sight beyond sight. This planetary vision is only possible via the synthetic operations of computation. Computation transforms raw sense data from the distributed observatory into inductive reasoning, producing a form of sight that transcends the immediate act of seeing, a sight beyond sight. Planetary scale computation decouples observation from the observer. Like the Event Horizon Telescope, The recent proliferation of terrestrial sensor networks renders the entire Earth a giant observatory. Rather than looking outwards towards the cosmos, these sensors invert the gaze, taking the Earth as their object of observation. Fragmented sensors have been deployed to sense the planet, but less attention has been paid towards aggregating and analyzing this data at planetary scale. Realizing the full potential of this distributed observatory requires both the sensory mechanisms for gathering data and the computational mechanisms for processing it. Foundation models may enable this synthesis. Trained on vast amounts of data via unsupervised learning, foundation models accumulate a body of general knowledge that can then be fine-tuned for downstream tasks. Despite their massive scale, the training corpus of existing foundation models reflects a mere fraction of possible data, scraped from the detritus of the internet. Language, let alone human culture, is only a subset of the wealth of information imminent to the biosphere. The aperture of what these models observe should widen to include the ecological and the non-human. There is nothing, however, that limits potential foundation models to text alone. The planet produces stimuli in the form of energy, particles, waves, and fields. Transduced by machine sensors, these signals provide a potential multimodal input for models. Current foundation models demonstrate emergent capabilities derived from hidden associations within the vastness of their training data. Integrating multimodal data from the biosphere into a single knowledge architecture might enable an emergent planetary intelligence, bypassing anthropocentric biases to discover new resonance across modalities. Enter the Whole Earth Codec, a foundation model that integrates myriad streams of ecological data from the Earth and allows the planet to observe itself. You'll have to watch the rest on the internet.
Hi everyone, I'm Harshit Agrawal. I'm an artist. I've come all the way from Bangalore to present my work, which is kind of crazy. It is actually true. I came here a couple of days ago. I'm here for a week, and it so happened, it's a beautiful coincidence that this event was happening tonight, and I signed up for it, and here I am. It's my first time in SF also, so I'm really excited to kind of be with all of you, see all the wonderful work, and share some of the stuff that I've been doing over some years. This is a quick recap of stuff that I do. I work with AI machine learning a lot to kind of talk about the consequences of living with this technology pretty much 24/7. So this is an archive of work over the last 10, 12 years. And it's kind of the encounter with the work is to get people to think more deeply about their relation with tech. And the project that I want to talk about today is called Data Excavations, the New Soil. It's a work that I started doing a few months ago. And it's kind of based on this new thinking or framing that data is the new soil, right? Like in certain sense, kind of thinking of data as a very fundamental resource, pretty much like Earth's resources, which we've obviously used and overused for both progress and leading to climate change. And similarly, we stand at that kind of juncture where we're starting to use data pretty much with that same capacity. And oftentimes what happens is that kind of gets missed, right? Like especially like in India, where I come, a lot of people are already like on AI tools, etc., not necessarily realizing what's going on behind the scenes, right? And so, as an artist, I was very curious to try and make that more visceral, more tangible, and how can I kind of bring attention to that fact, right? So I started thinking, okay, a lot of us have seen kind of giant excavators as part of our urban landscape, right? And that is kind of mining earth, and data mining is kind of the parallel to that. So I started thinking of what if I create a light art piece with excavators. So I did this computer animation to write the words data and soil with excavators and see how that might look like. And I was pretty excited by this idea. So taking this computer animation, I went around looking to rent out these giant excavators. And I found someone who could give me 3 excavators to rent out. This was during a residency in Saudi, so it was really difficult but fun to communicate with them. I was like, I need to rent excavators to do artwork. And they were pretty surprised, but they played along. So I'll just play this video again. So basically what we did is install light channels on these excavators, and using the video that I'd rendered, communicated to the operators to make certain movements, to write the letter. This one is D, and then it moves to write the letter S. And it was really fun to install custom circuitry to kind of switch on and off the light channels. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So yeah, this is going to now show the computer animation again, but then it's going to show all the individual letters that we filmed over the course of 2 nights to write the words data and soil. So this was the reference video for the operators, and now it's the individual letters coming up. So it's DATASOIL. This was definitely a lot of fun because we're trying to kind of get all the movements right, make sure that we turn off and on the different light channels at the right time, because obviously there was language barrier, but we kind of figured and ended up writing these letters, data and soil. And this is just some behind the scenes, right? So we're here like just turning an excavator into an art tool or an art canvas. And it was, it was out in the deserts in Saudi, outside of Riyadh, and we managed to install these lights and some custom circuitry near where the operators sit. And we had our kind of first moment of getting them lit. And this was kind of the group that we were working with. I also had a lot of fun because I learned how to ride an excavator, managed to get a quick crash course on that and not crash the earth through that. And now the next phase of this project is to work on this kind of using toy JCB machines or toy excavator machines. I'm building this kind of 8 feet indoor exhibition, which will continuously kind of keep looping these words, data and soil. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you very much for having me here.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I'm a composer. I'm a soundtrack maker. Now, I'm also a music technologist. I'm currently studying at Stanford University, CARMA, which stands for the Center for Computer Research in Music and Acoustics. So today I'm here to present one of my sound sketches I did during my time at the school. So I'm going to show you the demo first. Yeah, so basically that was a sound sketch that's made in Chuck. It's a music programming language. You can do real-time synthesis. It was developed at Princeton first and then Stanford University under Gowan's lead. And then you probably saw the little gadgets I was using down there. So I'm wondering how I can get to them while showing you. So I'll introduce them first. So the thing I used for the tether and string, those are called game track. So they were actually originally designed for playing golfing game, but soon because of the, thank you so much. But soon because of the niche usage, they were out of market. But you can see it has like 2 tethers on them, and you were supposed to hold them together and play like a golfing game. But they turned out to be wonderful instruments for us music technologists, because you can send continuous values and you can use them to make different instruments. And then you probably also saw something down there that looks like an upside down salad bowl, because it was made from a salad bowl. This is called a hemisphere. It's designed and made in Karma, so our department building. And this one was partially from Walmart salad bowl. So it's a wonderful little thing for producing sounds, but also in a localized way. So when I was playing with the instrument, you know exactly where it's from because it's right here in front of you. Yeah, so why I made this particular sound sketch, because I was also composing soundtrack for an indie game at the time, and I wanted to use the virtual instrument of bianzhong. Bianzhong is like, as you can see on the picture, so it's a huge like traditional bell instrument. It requires multiple people to play together for it to really ring the sound. But they are ancient and they are like super expensive, and I couldn't get them easily, right? But I was like, with like coding, with this gadget, can I make something that resembles the mechanism in an essential way, but it's more accessible? And I think that brings me to like my principle of art. So I want to bring the accessibility from technology. How do we use technology to make something more accessible, make it, present in our lives, but also it still carries the warmth and body of acoustic instrument. So when I was playing this, you could vaguely see or probably you could guess my motion, how it's correlated with the music. When I was raising my hand to strike, you hear the bell. Or when I was raising my left hand, you hear the continuous string. Right? And I think that's something important in performance, because we need that understanding of how is emotion correlated to music for a relationship to be forged between the audience and the performer. And I think that's very central to my art piece about how to bring that human touch, that human worth to technology. And I want to mention, you can do more than just sound with this combination of setup. So actually last Wednesday, we just finished a performance at Stanford campus, and it's called Warp 10. So basically that one carries you through a space journey and carries you through seeing a black hole. So you could do real-time audio and graphics all together in one. So that's my teammates Ben Huang, Greg Oliva, and me together performing in the space. First, I'll skip that, but we do have another concert coming up on this June 6th. On Stanford campus in the Bing Hall. If you want to stay in touch, and I'll continue to post more of my creative process, you can follow me on Instagram at morning_clothes. And thank you very much.
It will take 20 seconds for this to load. First of all, I'm Jiabao Li. I'm an artist, inventor, and mother. How many of you here are mothers? Show of hands. How many of you here has a mother of some kind? Yeah, happy Mother's Day to them. Okay, I found there's no perfect day to show this body of work called You Can't Fire Your Mom. It's a solo exhibition that I just finished recently, and it's 11 works that I developed in the past 6 months. So first, my baby now is 10 months. When I was 9 months pregnant, I went to this 3D scan my body, and I put it in the character animator, and suddenly this heavy body can't even touch my toes, can jump 20 meters, can do a hurricane kick. and I can't even put my shoelace on. And so I feel so relieved in the digital space. And I developed this game.
I'm done being stuck in this hospital. Get me out of here. More.
So that's the 3D scan of my body. And here you can, first level is you can leave hospitals. So thinking about society expect moms to be superhuman, supermom. You have to first quickly recover, work, don't slow down your career. And I feel in digital space I can do it all.
Insurance denied.
The second level,
I hate this.
you can kick your insurance bill.
Keep going.
By the way, I got a complicated birth, so I received a bill that's 200,000, and I got so many insurance denied, so I feel really relieved in this one. And the third level,
Clone yourself.
you can clone yourself to multitask.
Work. Time to breastfeed. Stay positive. Be sexy. Put out fires. Be visionary. Be pretty. Baby's crying. Go.
Yeah, and part of it, there's also 15 of this superhero body, golden body there. That's my baby. Second one is called Braxton Hicks is here. So during third trimester, there's this symptom called Braxton Hicks, and it's you have this fake contraction, and it often comes when you have sex or when you pee. And I realized, Braxton Hicks is this male white doctor that live in your body that constantly come when you're trying to have some good time with your partner or when I pee. And so I made a manga series. So then I further discovered there are so much more white male doctors that live in the female body, like the G-spot. Surprise, right? And fallopian tube. So like this looks important, and then wrote his name here. Pap smear. That's Mr. Pap. And then Kegel exercise as the coach to say, keep going. Yeah. And so these are the different white male doctors that live in our uterus. Thanks. Meanwhile, there are centuries of many midwife and indigenous knowledge that already know this all the time, but just didn't name them. And it's also a time that there are only male that are doctors. This is, we said there's no startup pitch, but this is one. It's called Baby Shark Tank. It's like Shark Tank, but the product is our baby. We are the co-founders. That's my husband. I am the CEO, the Chief Egg Officer. My husband is the CSO, the Chief Sperm Officer. And we talk about like how good of a gene she has, like she won't get bald spot according to 23andMe, how exponential growth she will have. With that growth, she will become like a Godzilla and grow out of Earth. And we have real venture capitalists that are also VC of our startup, the real startup, as the sharks. And in the end, we reach a pretty good deal, like 200 million post something. We also did an investor update at TechCrunch here in San Francisco. And this is Mark Cuban, the real shark on Shark Tank. We talk about this to him. He's interested in investing too. And this was the tag, evidence of proximity to capital. Godfather of AI, Geoffrey Hinton said, AI systems need to be programmed with maternal instinct to care about humans to ensure we do not become a threat to humanity. I was like, okay, AI mom. So I built an AI mom. This was at tiat for a while. So you can choose the sliders, choose how much unconditional love, how much nagging, strictness, pain perception this mom have. And then you have a conversation with the mom. The mom is manifested through light, ambience, vibration, and sound. Okay, this is 4D baby. Duchamp, the artist, he had a counterpart called Rose. So because he believed the four-dimensional of a male is to invert a penis and it become a vagina. So he become a she. And I was thinking, okay, back to the 3D scan. I unwrap myself. If I do that, if I inverse a pregnant body, what is that? So here is the 4D baby. It's a visual illusion. Right now you see the breasts are coming out. The baby looks like she's outside of the belly, but then it's actually inside the belly. And this is the behind part. So here you can look at that. It looks like the breast is coming out to you or even looking at you. And so the baby is outside, and then you move around. The baby is inside. So by moving through space, you're moving through time, which is the baby being born. So space becomes time. That's the fourth dimension. And another version of this is the mirror-scope visual illusion, where when you look from this angle, the baby looks like outside. But then if you go in, the baby is actually inside the belly. So again, space becomes time. I took this photo via infrared camera, so you can see the veins through here. I look at the mirror during this pregnancy, and you see all these veins super obvious, and because you double the blood vessel, and infrared camera can see it very clearly. And this is really the visual part that show how much of this blood transfusion, blood conversion between the mom and the baby. And that dress custom made, it's to show that the tracing the blood vessel. Trash can. So this is modeled after my real C-section scar. I had an infection. I was in hospital for a whole month and have this permanent scar. And it's also, so if people can freely throw trash inside, it's around this notion that after giving birth, the woman becomes trash. And there's this famous male say, I can never imagine having sex with some woman that already gave birth after getting multiple women pregnant. So you can throw trash there. This is a comment on China's reproductive propaganda slogan, where it's all pretty crazy. 30 years ago, during my generation, there are all the slogans saying you can only have the single child policy. And then now, this generation, you have to have more than 3. You better have more than 3 babies. And you see this big contrast of the different slogan. And the slogan is usually huge in villages on the street, and I print them as red tape. You can red tape rules, and I tape different public bathrooms. Some things like this one is whoever has an unauthorized birth will have their family destroyed. And now it's, if you don't reproduce, you pay tax. This one is fewer births, better births, a lifetime of happiness. And then 30 years later, it's have children early and have more, a lifetime of happiness. Only have 1 child, and the government will support you when you get old. And now it's having 3 children is the best, so you won't need the government to support you when you get old. This one is, if one person has one extra birth, the whole village gets sterilized. And now it's, if one person refuses to have more children, the whole village gets artificial insemination. Yeah, so you see these contrasting messages. And all the joy, the complicated emotion are being reduced to get demography needs and numbers. Living Legacy is a collaboration between a neonatologist and a maternal-fetal medicine doctor. It's addressing this neonatal loss for people and this need of being remembered. U.S. maternal mortality in the U.S. is super high in developed countries. I just finished this documentation. It's not even color-coded yet. So you can take a brain slide of a baby that passed away, and you put it under the microscope, and as you tune the microscope into focus or out of focus, you hear this 12-hour-long interview of the parents who have their baby pass away. And they talk about how they decide to donate to science, and because of that, they feel they have spent much more time, they live longer with their baby, that they don't usually get to talk with their families and friends. And also, it's a very sterile feeling to have that baby brain in the lab, and their audio make them come to life as you move them around. You can see the cells come to life. Gift is, so in menstruation blood, there are stem cells, and there are pluripotent that can be differentiated into specialized cells, like heart cell. And I try to grow an organoid or organ eventually as a heart and give it as a gift to my mom, who have multiple heart attacks. Her heart is not as good as before, and she created my heart from her womb, and I'm giving her back a heart that created from something from my womb. And of course, this is a visual representation in an exhibition because it's really hard to show a bioart in a long exhibition. And that's my mom and my baby, 3 generations in one photo. And same for stem cell, also in breast milk, there are stem cells. They're also very pluripotent. So the hope here is I could grow a mammary gland that produce breast milk from the stem cell that created from breast milk. So this is called breast making breast milk. It's a full circle. Breast milk makes stem cell grow mammary gland that make breast milk. I guess I'm over time, but I'll skip this. This was a milk tasting event where we taste the milk of all mammals, including human, because I found under the age of AGI, the most human moment is when I'm breastfeeding. Yeah, so it was a blind tasting. There were bats, coyote, donkey, and then people just came to the stage and opened their mouths, and it feels like a Sunday church. I was squirting milk into everybody's mouth. And I was pumping on the stage. Throughout the exhibition, me and my baby were living in the gallery as part of the work, because we have to be there, and someone needs to take care of the baby. If you want to learn more about the stem cell in menstruation, here is a talk I did called The Secret Power of Menstrual Blood. And happy Mother's Day. This is me. That's my Instagram. Thank you.
My name is Memo. Thank you to the Internet Archive for hosting, and thank you to the Intersection of Art and Technology for organizing. I've been kind of stuck in congestion at that intersection for quite some time now, and I want to give a bit of background information before I kind of go into talk about one project in particular. And I actually got into AI about 25 years ago, and I was really frustrated at the way I interact with the computer. I'm a visual artist and a musician, and I don't want to use a keyboard and mouse. You know, I have a body, and this computer seems to forget that. So initially I was very interested in working with embodied interfaces and thinking about creative expression through the body, trying to create what I call visual instruments, and thinking about the relationship I have with a piano. And I want to recreate that with a computer like this, and also for creating visuals. So everything you're seeing is created interactively with a body, and this kind of ended up doing a lot of live performances, music videos, things like that. And then the journey from there into AI is very natural, because ultimately I want to read a human body and I want to understand what it's doing, and that's computer vision or using various other sensors. So I got into AI, but also I became very interested in our relationship with technology, particularly emerging technologies, and how they affect the way we understand the world, how they affect the way we relate to each other, our relationships, and ultimately the social, cultural impact, how they affect faith, ritual, how we, even as reflections or refractions on the mind, is AI a way to think about how we perceive the world and perhaps even eventually understand consciousness, a very hot topic today. But I want to focus on a particular piece. This is a series, or a project from a series, which I started in 2011, called Simple Harmonic Motion. The series investigates the emergence of complex patterns and rhythms through the interaction of simple oscillatory behavior. And I made many incarnations, video installations, light installations, and a performance, which is what I want to talk about. The performance is from 2015, so it's quite old, in this world at least. But I just wanted to revive it because it feels relevant, and I'd forgotten about it, actually. But it came up the other day in a conversation, so I thought I'd talk about that. Commissioned by Future Everything, and it's kind of about the tensions and harmonies between humans and machines. And I wanted to create a performance where the human performers are controlled by a machine. So there's 16 drummers, and each performer has an earpiece, and they're receiving commands from a central computer: when to step forward into the light, when to step back, when to hit a drum, when to switch on their flashlight. And they're all playing at different speeds, so they're drifting in and out of sync. And the key thing is the individual performers don't even know about the overall composition. They don't even hear that. They don't know the bigger picture. They're just doing as they're told, executing their own cues, orchestrated by this computer. And each human performer performs this very simple, monotonous task, but collectively they become this complex creature, a superorganism controlled by the machine. And the performance is quite uncomfortable at times. 16 drummers, at times completely out of sync. There's flashlights hitting you in the eye. But then every now and again it kind of magically drifts back into sync, and it feels very harmonious, and then it drifts back out again. And this was a way to think about how throughout history we have this constant back and forth between science and technology, discoveries happening, changing the way we understand the world, in contradiction with culture and tradition. And there are these moments of tension. And just as culture and tradition catch up, it falls out of sync again. You know, the heliocentric model of the planetary orbits, Darwinian evolution, IVF, animal cloning. And when I made this in 2015, I was thinking about synthetic biology, surveillance, privacy, and of course, AI. And now in 2026, it seems that we're accelerating even faster. The gap between technological possibility and cultural, legal, ethical understanding is just widening more than ever. So as we go about our daily lives and wear our earpieces and we do our little bits, I wonder, what is the superorganism doing? Where is the superorganism going? Metabolizing these technologies has always been difficult, and I feel like we're at a very, very interesting time in human history where we are on that cusp of that exponential. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, writer, and curator exploring the complex relationships between embodiment, consciousness, and technologically mediated imagination. My work investigates the dynamics between knowing and feeling and examines how emerging technologies shape both cultural narratives and direct experience. The themes raised by emerging technologies are a way for me to explore how we live in the present as well as the near future. For 10 years, I ran my East Village basement studio as a collaborative project space and organized regular exhibitions, book launches, and lots of cross-disciplinary collaborations, especially bringing together visual art and language, which was a passion of mine. And it was nothing near as grand as Tiat or this space, but I really appreciate the labor of love that is artist-run spaces. And I just want to say really sincerely that community exists because of places like this and because people like Ash and Tiat do this work. Right? Yeah. In 2019, I was a co-creator of the Climate Clock, which was a digital counter and a monument to planetary time, a global call to put planetary urgency at the visible center of public life. And throughout this project, I came to recognize that monuments tell us what we value as a culture, and they also tell us whose voices matter. In 2020, I co-founded the Aurora Network, along with the XR Ensemble, which brought together over 70 artists creating new monuments in AR to diverse female and gender-diverse scientists, artists, activists, scholars, and historic leaders in public spaces. And yes, there were lots of mothers there. And we created this program during the pandemic as an outdoor exhibition in all 5 boroughs of New York, as a guided walking tour, as an educational network, but it quickly became a multi-continent database of feminist artists of all genders. And this funny thing happened when we were first discussing the project. We were looking at public plazas, and one of my collaborators, Ann Wichman, was just saying there are 150 public monuments in New York, and we're looking at these plazas, and they kind of look like a European military campaign or something. And she said 150 monuments, only 8 are to women, and I was just like, how many horses are there? There are 11. So while the project was initially created as a rapid response to the pandemic to bring women into public art, we quickly realized this was about much more than gender. Why are we celebrating war in our cities while we ask for peace? Can our public spaces, including our digital commons, inspire our children to pick up a microscope or a paintbrush instead of a sword? As new technologies enter our digital lives, I want to know, what is the effect on our bodies, both our human bodies and our planetary body? And it sounds like a lot of the other artists here are asking that same question, so I'm excited for the after party. In 2021, I wrote a long-form essay called Bodies on the Blockchain about artists who are logging biological, genetic, and behavioral information on a digital ledger to invoke a conversation about body sovereignty in our techno-present. I also curated a series of exhibitions called Lifelike, built on the same premise. Technology is moving into our bodies, and our bodies are moving into technology. The stakes are high. Will we double our health spans or create a stratified techno-dystopian Gilead? I was looking for artists who were literally putting their bodies on the line, DNA, blood, brains, shit, probing the ways information flows between our biological and virtual identities, and expanding our vocabulary through imaginative scenarios, using their own bodies to propel the conversation about the role and rights of all body in a hybrid world. By stress testing this so-called Web3's effect on their own bodies, the exhibition was also a provocation if the lab rats might take back control. The exhibition did pose a lot of questions, but it was also built on a clear message: the urgency to encode equitable human rights for all bodies, which must evolve and keep pace with the technology that we use. The exhibitions were activated through a series of presentations, performance lectures, participatory rituals, and spells. And I'd love to invite you to explore the virtual exhibition online at Epoch Gallery, which is another fabulous artist-run space. And the expansion is documented through Vellum LA. The question running through all of this is a question of embodiment. Knowledge about the magnitude of the problems we're facing does not, on its own, create the mindset to solve them. What does? It's one thing to intellectually know that we are deeply entangled within complex, interdependent networks of life, composed of and embedded within expansive scales of intelligence, unfolding across boundaries of self, a cosmos sapiens, an intelligent universe. But how can we feel this in our bodies? This leads me into the creation of Super Radiance Lab in 2024 with my collaborator you just met, Memo Akten, where we investigate the nature of consciousness, intelligence, and planetary systems through research-based art that bridges embodied experience with emerging technologies. And just a little teaser of our most recent work, created for the Whitney's Artport collection, The Thinking Ocean invites us to rethink our relationship to nature, bodies of water in particular. If mind and consciousness emerge within the flows of matter, energy, and information, what other kinds of minds may be unfolding beyond the human, beyond even the biological? The Thinking Ocean explores whether natural dynamic systems like oceans, rivers, winds, storms, which according to very recent research could be Turing complete, might themselves be capable of thought, and questions why we propose granting personhood and even consciousness to AI while overlooking the complex computations already happening in the water, in air, and other planetary systems. You can find more of our work here. Thank you.
Can we give it up for our artists? That was awesome. All right, so wrapping up here. Basically, for the past month or so, we've been running an exhibition in our space called If Then Amen, exploring computational divinity and networked belief systems in this age of intelligent machines. Tomorrow, we're hosting one last event in conjunction with the exhibition, and we're really honored and thrilled to have Eric Davis and Megan Phipps join us. If you don't know, Eric Davis wrote Technologists back in 1998, which many would consider a cult classic and foundational cybernetic media theory. And yeah, we hope you'll join us. It'll be really awesome happening in our space at TIAT. You can RSVP on our calendar. It's luma.com/TIAT. And then you can find our other events as well. We have a cyberdeck workshop coming up, touch designer, strudel workshop, everything at the intersection of art and technology we support. Okay, I'll keep going. So TIAT is a really young nonprofit, and a huge amount of what we do is through our community-supported partnerships and collaborations. And so, okay, it's our poster for our current show, If Then Amen. This is the event that's happening tomorrow. Thrilled to have this happen. This is our Luma calendar. Okay, yes. So we're a young nonprofit. We're looking for aligned collaborators who believe in spaces like TIAT should exist in San Francisco. And so depending on the fit, we collaborate through artist residencies, public programming, workshops, incubators, and exhibitions. Previously, we partnered with organizations like the Mozilla Foundation and Flora on residency and incubator programs exploring creativity, AI, and culture. And so if you or your organization would like to support or engage with this ecosystem, come talk to me afterwards or reach out at tiat.place@gmail.com. And okay, also I'm starting to think about like what's happening in the space next. We've been doing new exhibitions in the space every month, and right now I'm feeling the collective conscious interest in slop, and I think it could be interesting, like exploring the epistemologies of slop, like what is slop, can slop be art? And if you have any opinions about that, feel free to talk to me as well. Or if you know of organizations that would be interested in supporting this line of inquiry, definitely hit me up too. Another thing I want to shout out, the folks behind TIAT are also behind Fidget Camp, which is a 10-day make-a-thon here in San Francisco where you can teach each other things, learn something new, make something new, and then showcase it in a final showcase. But applications are due tonight, so if you're interested, check out fidgetcamp.com. It's very inspired by New York's ITP camp, if you're familiar with that one. But yeah, you can find all the links to everything that I just mentioned here on this QR code. Everyone, take your phone out. Yup, this link has it all. Okay, so the very last thing. Oh yeah, if you took any photos tonight, could you tag us on Instagram, please? We're tiat.place, and then tag the artist as well. But yeah, so it's 8:30 right now. Let's try to make our way out of here. Let's get some drinks afterwards. We're gonna meet at Lost Marbles Brewery. Let's try to get out of here by 8:45. But yeah, let's go to Lost Marbles. Thank you again for coming to the intersection of art and technology. I have some chopsticks if you'd like to moisten your lips for kissing at the intersection of art and technology. Come and find me. But yeah, that's the QR code for all the links, and thank you so much for coming. Have a nice night. Make it fun.